Hello everyone, my name is Khadija and I'm an author, artist and illustrator. I have written a collection of short stories and right now I'm in the process of editing the entire book. So my book will be ready in one month and so please stay tuned. Today I wanted to critique and discuss a novel named Americanah by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, a Nigerian author and writer and novelist. First, I will give you a summary of the book, what's the book about, and second, I will critique and discuss these books in more details. Okay, so the story is written in flashback, flash forward style. The story starts to talk about our protagonist, Ifemelu, who is a recent Nigerian immigrant and into US. She came to US to study and she ended up staying for about 15 years, and during this time she does several jobs, as well she goes to school, and also she will end up dating a couple of men. She also runs a very successful blog about her experience in USA as a recent African immigrant. Throughout the story, the protagonist, Efemelu, shows us about how Americans are obsessed with the concept of race, to the extent that the reader judges everyone through ephemeral encounters. The concept of race is really apparent in this story. And for example, the part that Ifemelu goes to do her hair in the West African Francophone ladies' salon. The other part of the story talks about Ifemelu's teenage sweetheart, Obinze, whom she left behind in Nigeria. After she and Obinze, after herself and Obinze, they departed, so Ifemelu went to the USA to do her studies, and Obinze went to the UK, and he went through the portion of his life, and then he ended up in Nigeria, and he settled as a successful businessman, and also he got married and had a daughter from his marriage. So this story takes a turn when Obinze received an email from Ifemelu stating that she was going to go back to Nigeria to settle there. And that was the part that this story reveals itself as an epic romance novel. About the critique. All throughout the story, you are constantly being reminded by the author through the protagonist's observation about the difference between the black people who live in the USA. So through the protagonist's observation, we realize that there are categorized black-skinned people that live there. So basically, one group is direct descendants of captured humans brought to the USA through the transatlantic slave trade. The other group are the Caribbeans, the black Caribbeans, also direct descendant of the captured humans that were brought to the USA through the transatlantic slave trade. The other group are black Francophone people of West Africa, and also the Anglophone, the final group are the Anglophone people of the recent immigrants from Anglophone countries in Africa. So obviously the author does that through the protagonist observation to prove the point that there is diversity among the black people in America. And also, Ifemelu, as a new recent immigrant, she goes through a culture shock in the USA. To tap it up, she also encountered ignorance from the black community in the US, as well as herself, because I realize herself also has sort of bias outlook to people of West Africa, particularly the Francophone blacks. I think it's necessary for me to give a brief history of last 500 years in Africa. So, as most of you listeners know, there was a group of settlers in North America, Central Caribbean, and South America who came to Africa and purchased human souls for the purpose of plantation. Now, the Africa that you see today did not existed in the late 1500. So the land was mainly the West Africa, Central, East, and South Africa was run by different by the heads of different indigenous tribes and kingdoms and empires. And sometimes so these indigenous tribes, they usually lived in peace, but every often they engaged in fights and rivalry conduct. So the Africans that were sold to the settlers or Westerners were usually captives from the rival tribe, and then they were sold to the Westerners as a symbol of honor. And this, as you know, lasted for centuries. So right after the emancipation of the slavery in the late 1800, in the mid 1800, colonialism began by imperialist countries such as England, France, Belgium, and Italy. And this colonialism was done for the purpose of benefiting natural resources in Africa by those imperialist power. So, long story short, the imperialistic countries divided African lands among themselves and named the states in the order that you can see today. Many African thinkers today do not identify themselves by the post colonial names that the imperial power had given, but by the tribes that they affiliate with. This is a deep discussion that I don't want to go further because I don't want to go away from our story, but just wanted to give you a brief idea about the diversity of people, of black people in America. And also wanted to mention that this story, Americanah, is basically is around the theme of immigration. And also, that being said, the tribes in Nigeria today, in the country of Nigeria today, and the tribes in West African Francophone countries, in my idea, are more or less related. Also, the fact that the descendants of captive humans were brought from Africa into the plantations, and also the immigrants directly from the recent immigrants directly from Africa. All of these people together make a big community of black people in America, and the fact of lingual and cultural differences becomes meaningless. So that was my critique on the book, and thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe for more fiction reviews. Thank you.